When you think about what makes the best kind of game, you might think the design has to be perfect on all fronts. The controls are smooth and responsive, you don't bump into any glitches, all the ideas and mechanics go together like bread and butter. You just feel in complete control of everything and the laws of the game don't fail you once. They also don't give you multiple dialogue options only for the NPC to give you the exact same response. Now, I'm not gonna name any names, and while all of that is true without a doubt, I'd also argue that a really fun game can come from its imperfections. You know, a build that has a few screws loose, a big old dent on the side. Might sound weird to imply that a game can be more fun when it's broken, but it's also kinda true. Though it needs to be flawed in a certain way. The game shouldn't be so glitched out where it's unplayable, or it's designed in a strange way where it's more tedious than funny. I'm thinking more like elements of chaos and unpredictability. That if the odds are ever against you, it's always fast to rebound, and no matter how shit's going down, it's always a fun time. And I think Mario Kart Double Dash is a prime example of this type of game. Double Dash is still one of the weirdest and most imperfect titles in the Mario Kart series. It took the foundation that Mario Kart 64 set for 3D racing and made it barely recognizable from that. It's the most change they've ever made to the core racing, while other Mario Kart games only added stuff around its core. Really, it's a result of being a GameCube game. If I were to describe this console in one word, it's weird.
This looks like a fucking chocolate chip cookie.
Not only the hardware, but with how much they were experimenting with all of its major games. I mean, they had the launch title be this Luigi ghost hunting game, something that I don't think anyone asked for at the time. Its big 3D Mario game is all about Mario scrubbing shit off walls with a hose after being thrown in prison. Metroid's going first-person 3D, Link is a funny little guy. All these new IPs unlike anything else, and Mario Kart is no different story. Like most of these games, the initial reveal showed more of a proof of concept than actual gameplay. I mean, that sure is Marcus and Lucas, and they are definitely in carts. From what I've read, it seems Double Dash had some complicated development, but they had one set vision for this fourth installment, to evolve the multiplayer mechanics. This was the point where Mario Kart became like really big, so there was a lot of pressure to innovate in order to live up to expectations. They got really attached to the idea of 2 drivers in one cart. They didn't care how difficult it was to properly implement, it would just be funny as fuck with how many regulations we're breaking here. And while I can safely say these efforts paid off really well, I can only imagine how people felt watching the first name drop trailer. In hindsight, it's really fun to look at such an experimental catalog from Nintendo, but it gave them quite the mixed reception back in the day. Believe me, I've heard about the whole Wind Waker fiasco.
What the fuck did they do? Who the fuck is this? Who the fuck is Tingus Pingus?
But it seems the initial skepticism with these games alleviated once they actually played it, because most of these games got well received by fans and critics, and Double Dash was no different. In fact, the boldest decisions made here were exactly what gave it so much praise from reviewers, and I'd have to agree with them here. It's the same reason why I still think Mario Kart Double Dash is one of the best in the series. He and I go way back. I've told this story a few times in the past, but it bears repeating in this review. Mario Kart Double Dash was the first game I ever played. I think I was roughly 5 years old, and I saw playing a video game as this whole mature, intimidating thing for big boys. So this game having the option for one player to stay in the backseat and use items was the perfect thing for someone this young and inexperienced. I mean, it's either that, or your older brother gives you a controller that isn't plugged in and it pretends you're playing with him. I was also one of those kids. Having a barely developed brain back then, it's hard to remember what it was like, but all I know is that it was just the most magical and fun thing I've done with my siblings at the time. Jump ahead about 15 years, I'm inviting people over to specifically play Double Dash. Usually, when a new Mario Kart game comes out, it somewhat replaces the game that came before, since it iterates upon it and throws in some new spice. But no game since has been able to fully recreate the spice of Double Dash, which is what makes it so timeless to me. And the reason why is because the game is crazy, man. It's so chaotic and unhinged, yet it's calculated in a way that still feels like you possess that same influence over the game. It's a shining example of how to make a game that's fun without being fully functional. And today I want to get into what I exactly mean by that. However, there are certain flaws in the system that don't make it fun, just purely frustrating. This review won't entirely be a glaze fest. Still like 90% though. I think the first question we need to answer is, what exactly is it about Double Dash that makes it so unlike anything that came before or came after? Obviously, there's the buddy system, but let's talk about the smaller details before the main attraction. From the very first moments of the game, it lets you know how much wackier this next chapter is gonna be. Yo, Mario, could I get a... All he had to do was say Nintendo, but he's so fucking excited and now I am too. The best way I could describe the tone for this game is absolute Mickey Mouse Clubhouse Looney Tunes type shenanigans. The whole game has this zaniness or sort of bounce to it, and you can feel that in the gameplay experience, the visuals, and the sound style. While Super Mario Kart and Super Circuit also had that kick to it, the whimsy levels are cranked up to the max here, and it's quite the contrast from 64 feeling more chill and nonchalant. And also when you notice how the Mario Kart games that came after would pivot more to feeling slick or somewhat based on reality. But there's something especially contagious about Double Dash's mood, and I think most of that is from how the world feels so alive. Like, literally, everything has eyes. Trees, mountains, flowers, clouds, the sun, the fucking arrow signs. Some of them even have noses. Some of them bob back and forth like they can hear the music. Don't worry about the implications, you're not being watched, we're here for a good time. But it also feels alive in a metaphorical way. One of the most precious details with these racetracks is how other tracks can be seen nearby. Daisy Cruiser is resting by the docks in Peach Beach, and also can be found at sea from Yoshi Circuit. Mushroom Bridge seems to be quite the distance from Mario Circuit, but you can still see Peach's castle towering all the way over there. They could be the smallest details you'll never get to see. In Baby Park, you can barely see what I assume is dry desert. They even imply the existence of tracks from previous Mario Kart games, with Bowser Castle showing that same evil, scary-faced mountain in the distance like Broken Pier. All these little details make an already breathing world feel so whole. This idea of interconnected tracks could also have been an inspiration or precursor to Mario Kart World. In fact, you'll see that pattern a lot here. Mario Kart World definitely has that Double Dash DNA. The approach of the soundtrack for this game also fits that zany mood and hijinks at play perfectly. The title theme really says it all. It's bouncy as hell. It has no dignity, gives you a good idea that you're not signing up for your dad's Mario Kart. This energy is carried on through the rest of the soundtrack, but one particular motif to take note of is the whistling. The whistling might as well encapsulate the whole game's identity. It can be heard in the title screen, the main circuit theme, and the racing results music, and there couldn't have been a better choice. You couldn't have captured the game's carefree nature any better than a musical instrument that only comes from a good mood. A whole game with this kind of energy start to finish could be overwhelming, but they make sure to balance it out and know when to get more low-key. I mean, you all gotta love it when you open that menu and Mario hits you with that. And what follows is this very chill elevator music paired with such clean UI and sound effects. The same goes with the results music when you get a high placement. After whatever the hell you just went through, some smooth jazz is just the thing you need for a breather. It's one of the smaller soundtracks in the series, a lot of music gets repeated, but you'll find it so catchy you'd already want it on repeat. All this to say that the pure joy emitting from Double Dash is so infectious. It might not seem like it matters that much in a game, but I think it helps make the game more memorable, and nice to think about regardless of what it's like to actually play it. And it's not just being all happy and whimsical just for the sake of it, it's to complement the absurdity of the new rules at play here. The main thing obviously being that the racers come in duos now. You'll have one character behind the wheel responsible for steering and drifting, and a second person in the back who's in charge of pushing you off at the start, but more importantly using the items. Simply put, that's just a really fun idea, and they fully committed to the goofiness. I gotta say, being the guy in the back has to suck. I mean, you're the one taking all the turbulence from the shit that gets hit behind you, and when you get into a real bad crash and almost lose grip of the vehicle, the driver does not give a fuck, bro. They be dragging you across the floor. This game is hysterical, man. The cartoonish antics here are elevated from the characters' voice clips. This is when most of the Mario cast figured out their modernized voice. Everyone sounds like how you think they'd sound. And they brought their A game even this early on. When the characters get a huge boost from dash panels or mushrooms, you can really feel their adrenaline. And I love the way each of them react depending on what placement you got.
Who's number one now? Me.
I think you get the point by now. Double Dash is just irresistibly charming. Of course, style isn't everything, the substance is the more important part, but I can confidently say that Double Dash does not disappoint in that field either. Since we have the player double dipping in character selection and there's still 8 positions in a race, the roster needs a big expansion to fill up those positions. And goddamn did they do that. The previous 3 installments had 8 characters to choose from, and they were a solid roster, albeit pretty stagnant throughout the games. Double Dash then went and livened the party from 8 characters to 20, and it's a good pool of necessary additions and curveball choices. Every character was implemented to be in relation to another, as well as entirely new groups, forming 10 pairs of racers. First up, we have Daisy as Peach's buddy, and I like her inclusion a lot here. This was when her more loud and excited persona took form, as opposed to Mario Tennis where she was just Peach again. That was before she snapped and went apeshit. The GameCube was when Mario roster started to be a lot more inclusive, and Birdo was one of many examples. They could have easily abandoned her in Mario 2, but I'm glad they didn't. And it seems like she and Yoshi are a thing? Alright, I see you, Yoshi. Wait, is that Yoshi or... Oh fuck. But if you want even deeper cuts, here we have Baby Mario and Baby Luigi. I think we've grown so desensitized to the babies at this point, so you no longer think about how bizarre this choice was. As much as I've never cared for the babies, I'll give these two a pass here. It was their debut, and simply meant to be cameos of Yoshi's Island. They were not yet aware of the ripple effects. They finally let Koopa Troopa back in the friend group after he got kicked out from 64, and he invited over his homie with wings. That's nice. How come none of my friends have wings? Looking at you, fucking Matthew. Diddy Kong was a great pick too. I mean, if they're going to be using Rare's Donkey Kong, might as well let his buddy tag along. Bowser Jr. returns after his debut in Mario Sunshine, and of course there's Wario's partner in crime, Waluigi. These are your options for building duos at the start, but there are still two pairs you unlock pretty late into the game, one of which is Toad and Toadette. I mean, I do like them and all, but I think I only know one person who would be excited to unlock Toad. Oh fuck, you can see him. Although it makes a lot more sense for them to be hidden characters when you find out that this was the very creation of Toadette. This was her very first appearance in anything. I mean, if a game created Toadette, how bad could it really be? The second unlockable pair has a lot more of that energy. Petey Piranha and King Boo. Who thinks of this? This kickstarted the trend in Mario Kart games having you unlock secret what-the-fuck characters. It's honestly really cool to be able to play as two boss characters from Mario Sunshine and Luigi's Mansion respectively. I have little to no gripes with the roster here. Perfect choices from the sensible to the weird in the best way. While you could group the intended people together, you can also mix and match, opening you up to 190 combinations. And why you should play around with different combinations is that these characters are more unique than ever thanks to their special items. Every pair has a unique item they can pull from item boxes, typically designed to create bigger impacts than the items that are universally accessible. And I'd also like to go over these so that you can make a wise choice with the two you select. Mario and Luigi use red and green fireballs respectively. As you'd expect from the default characters, it's pretty simple. The fireballs bounce forward and spread out as they keep moving. They're pretty decent at clearing a path. Meanwhile, Peach and Daisy get these hearts, and it is busted. It not only acts as a shield against items, you also pick up that item as your very own. And you get two! It's no wonder they got nerfed in Tor by only being a shield. Therefore, the princesses get a high recommendation. Just know you'll be the most obnoxious player in the room. Same if you pick one of the Koopas, whose special items are the triple green shells and triple red shells. To clarify, both Koopas can get both triple shells instead of being color-coded like you might have thought. But wait, you might be asking, weren't these triple sets that everyone could use because it was really useful to anyone behind the race? Why yes, but now they're exclusive. And that's fucking lame. They also did this with the super reliable golden mushroom, which can only be used by the Toads. I really don't like how they made some items that were necessary to anyone who's running behind exclusive to certain characters. I guess it's kind of made up for the fact that item output in general is more frequent, so you could still just as easily catch up without them, but that also goes the other way with more items hitting you. So on principle and in execution, this wasn't the way to do it, Chief. On a more positive note, I like the Yoshi and Birdo eggs. It behaves like a red shell, but the egg breaks upon impact and sprouts a random sort of other items on the road. I like how it's a bit of a gamble, seeing if you can make a 2-for-1 deal by hitting the guy in front of you and then to get a boost from a mushroom, or it could backfire if you run into a banana of your own making. The babies pull out a whole ass chain chomp, and as delightfully Looney Tunes as it is, it's pretty much an unstable prototype to the bullet bill, from how violently it pushes you around and won't always drop you off in the best spot. So use at your own risk. Giant banana from the Kongs though, dude. Giant fucking banana. So this is my favorite special item and favorite Mario Kart item period. I like how the banana's all grumpy and imposing, and you can be such a delightful nuisance dropping a fun-sized banana in the worst places imaginable. It's even the special item for literally me. I'm flattered. The runner-up though has to be the Bowser family's Bowser shell. It's the same reason why I love the giant banana. It's just a green shell but really really big. At this point you're just playing bowling using the competition. And finally, Wario and Waluigi have the Babam. You give it a toss and it will explode shortly after. This would become a common item in the games that came after, and I'm not nearly as upset with it being exclusive here. It doesn't feel like something that other characters really need. As for the boss characters, they're able to pull anyone else's special item. That might sound broken, but at the same time it decreases your odds of getting the individual specials, so it's less overpowered, more so an alternate strategy. It also comes at the cost of Petey's big stupid fucking head in the way of everything. Always make sure he's the one driving and not out in the open. So whichever of these special items fit your vibe, now you know what your main combo is gonna be. Me personally, I like to go with Diddy Kong and Bowser Jr. since they have my two favorite specials, and each of their partners are heavyweights, and I'd rather play as lightweights. But if you still can't decide, you can always rely on selecting random. This is like the worst thing I could have gotten. All this customization would have been enough, but it's also the first game to have a bunch of unique karts to choose from. Finally, we can ditch those stupid pipe frames. Now I can ride in something with Josh's face. Each kart is categorized in a different weight class, so the list you can choose from will depend on the combined weight of your characters. They always provide multiple karts that affect your stats like top speed and acceleration, so that way your character selections don't entirely determine your stats. It offers flexibility, and because of how many karts there are to discover, it makes Double Dash rich in unlockable content. You'll win something from every cup under each speed difficulty, that be a new kart, new characters, or even a battle stage. I will say, some of the things you unlock are in weirdly specific places. In order to unlock the special cup, you need to win the Star Cup specifically in 100cc. Beating it in 150 gives you the barrel train instead. I mean, it is my favorite kart in the game, but these two really should have been swapped. I don't know, it's just kind of weird to me that you need to specifically beat the medium difficulty to get the special cup, and that reward doesn't carry on to hard mode. Pour one out for this guy in Metacritic who thought there was only 3 cups because of this. Nitpicking aside, having this much stuff to unlock gives the game a lot more longevity in single player. It makes up for the one part about a Mario Kart game that Double Dash didn't supersize, which is the track selection. Now, the quality of the racetracks here is arguably record high. The worst of it are tracks that are mediocre or uninspired, yet are pretty harmless to actually race on. They could have been more, but what we got is something at least. And at its best, you're playing some of the most creative and experimental racetracks you'll ever come across. The drawback here is the quantity. With all that said, you have to admit that it's a bit jarring when Super Circuit was stacked with 40 race courses, new and old, and then the game on greatly superior hardware only has 16. Granted, half of Super Circuit was made up of extra tracks, and the less said about extra tracks the better, but I feel like they could have at least met at the base game's level of 20. What we're left with is still a really fun lineup, but it leads to gaming sessions being cut too short, since me and the people I'm playing with can only work with this pool of tracks for so long. It's one of the weaker parts of Double Dash, but even then, I think they made the best out of this small quantity, and nothing proves that more than the All Cup Tour. Here you race on all 16 courses back to back in one full championship. The order is randomized with the exception that Luigi Circuit is always first, and they always end with Rainbow Road. I love the long-term tension that comes out of this, beefing with that one group of assholes that are always either one step behind or a step ahead of you. It's always the most hateable combo too, like Waluigi and Petey Piranha. Big ass head and dumbass shoes. All Cup Tour is something that works the best with a track selection of this quantity, because while I'd be down for it, having this for 32 tracks or even 96 for 8 Deluxe would be too long of a play session to ask for. You have the usual modes to choose from outside of Grand Prix. Time trials that practice and optimize each course. Versus mode, which for some reason they changed back to being multiplayer exclusive. And then there's battle mode. The game mode I've gone on record saying I've never been a huge fan of consistently. But this battle mode is absolutely one of the good ones. For starters, the battle arenas are gimmicky, but in a fun way that doesn't get in the way of the action. If anything, it enhances it, trying to chase someone down as they're shooting in and out of pipes in Pipe Plaza. Luigi's Mansion evolving upon the double-decker design of Double Deck, still very creative names. You get to play on top of the Nintendo shit cube, and I can't help but love how stupid Tilt-A-Cart is. It's just a giant retro Mario that tilts around sometimes, and the music is just Baby Park, but they added cymbals. But what really sells me on this is that they added more ways to play beyond just popping your opponent's balloons, and they're miles more fun to me. In Shine Thief, you need to hold on to the shine sprite as the number goes down to 0. When the thief gets hit, they drop the shine and someone else can grab it, and the number starts ticking where it left off. This makes running off with it a lot more tense, because if you hang on to it for a long time, if someone steals it from you, that gives you less time to steal it back since the number is closer to 0. Bob on Blast is admittedly kind of junk food, but I honestly can't hate it. Sometimes junk food tastes pretty good. At least how the points work are pretty interesting. One hit from a player both gives them a point and removes one from the target, so it's based on a winning streak rather than simply total points. I really appreciate the liberties they took to truly evolve battle mode from just throwing stuff at each other and calling it a day, and it sparked the inspiration for future battle modes to experiment. And then they gave up, which is why I historically don't fuck with battle mode. Man, Double Dash has just been sweeping at everything in this review. The character roster, the item expansion, in-depth single-player content, battle mode not being mid, all the little things too. It's looking to be pretty much a perfect Mario Kart, but you remember earlier I said how Double Dash is defined by its imperfections. Well, you'll start to see what I mean once we actually get behind the wheel. I'd like to say that the core gameplay of Mario Kart takes a big step forward here, but really it's more like a step to the side, or like a step into another dimension, meaning it's not really an evolution nor a downgrade to what Super Circuit built. It has its own rules, and I like it. more than I don't. If you've been watching these Mario Kart reviews, you know the drill by now. The old Mario Kart game feels like an old Mario Kart game. It's uncomfortable at first, but feels great once you get the hang of it. But it's a different situation than the 2D games where it's as simple as it's only bad if you're bad. Any way I try to describe the controls in this game sounds paradoxical. Like, it feels perfect one moment, but other times I feel like someone removed the wet floor signs. On one hand, the steering is perfectly fine, not too stiff nor too aggressive. The weird part I think comes from its relation to the drifting. I don't know if it's just me, but I don't really feel that much of a difference going from steering into drifting. The turning speed feels barely faster. What I instead found it useful for is when I needed to quickly snap from one direction to another. Sections like the hallway in Daisy Cruiser or the upper floor of Bowser's Castle are good examples of this, where I need to shift between left to right on a dime. It's less useful for those long and wide turns and more useful for winding, twisty roads like these, which is why I can't conclude that the drifting in this game is actually worse, it just has a different context. I also thought it felt weird at first how your cart no longer does a small jump into a drift, and that you're pretty much glued to the floor the whole time, but you get used to it eventually. I mean, when these carts are carrying the weight of these two oafs, it's surprising that they get anywhere. The mini turbos here are also strangely implemented, and they could be better. This was when they established their modern visual flair, with how the boost is generated by building up these sparks underneath your tires. It's a really flashy output for the advanced input it requires, making for a satisfying feedback loop and will get you addicted to using them. Unfortunately, the dopamine from the visual flair is doing some heavy lifting here, because when they call it a mini turbo, damn is it mini. If it weren't for the audio feedback, I'd question if I actually did get a burst in speed. It's so minuscule. And maybe it's just me, but I find the rhythm for creating the sparks to be inconsistent. I move the control stick left and right with the same rhythm as always, but getting the blue sparks can take anywhere from like 1 second to being stuck on the red stage. As a result, drifting is still necessary to make tighter turns, but trying to get the boost afterwards is not nearly as beneficial in comparison. The benefits of both a tighter turn and an additional boost are supposed to go in tandem, so the second part being less impactful kinda nerfs the whole mechanic. I think it's made up for the fact that the feeling of swerving left and right in this game is actually pretty fun, so this doesn't make the game actively underwhelming, but it's not getting off scot-free. So I've talked about how cool the special items are, but I wonder how the regular items are holding up. Not too well, actually. They're a bit washed. I want to get the biggest massacre out of the way. What the fuck is this? A fake item box, you say? Well, thank you for telling me. I never would have guessed it was fake. So, in Mario Kart 64, the fake item box was designed where it was distinguishable from a real item box, but not too much so that it can blend in and maybe catch someone off guard. The only differences were that the question mark is upside down and the box doesn't rotate. You can tell them apart, but you need to pay at least a little bit of attention. Who is getting got by this when it's coated in evil red? The color with the upside down symbol is almost like it's actively outing itself. By failing on this element of mind games, it's basically just a banana. A banana that can't even be used to block items. Amazing. As for the green shells, they're pretty inconsistent here. One moment they're quick and get to the point, other times you'll see them roaming around and they move at an actual turtle's pace. It's like they've become sentient and they're just goofing off now. And the same can be said about the red shells. I think this clip here speaks for itself. In Super Circuit, they locked the fuck in and almost never gave up on their pursuit. But sometime between then and Double Dash, the red shells must have started eating mulch or something.
Mulch is my favorite food.
Because they often get distracted and just kinda give up at the last part of their mission. Look, I get it, you're in Double Dash, very fun and whimsical wonderland and all that. But right now I need some asses beat, so please, I need this. Really all the shells have been toyed with here, one way or another, and sadly that includes the blue shell. But this time it's not the game physics being faulty, it's a deliberate design decision. You see, the blue shell flies now.
They fly now? They fly now!
That sounds badass. The most evil Mario Kart item got more eldritch, but in reality it's actually less dangerous and I can't say I'm a fan of the change. It used to track down the guy in first place on foot, in the process knocking out any other racer in its rampage, clearing a path for you to get ahead. But now when you throw a blue shell, it flies over everyone else and then dives into first place. Granted, it does make this big explosion, possibly getting any bystanders involved, but it doesn't change the fact that I'm still all the way back here. All I'm really doing is letting whoever was right behind that explosion take the lead. It reduces the blue shell to merely the end result and removes the benefits of the collateral damage that specifically benefits the one who casted it. It's odd that such a reductive change has been made in Double Dash of all games, when everything else seems to have been committed to being more unhinged. Actually, is that even a good thing? Wouldn't you want all the elements at play to be fair and functional? And if you think about it, all of these features combined in one package sounds like this could be a pretty crowded and overwhelming ecosystem. I mean, there's a second item slot now, so that's potentially double the item output, with a lot of the special items like chain chomps and Bowser shells being so dangerous. Not to mention that in this game, you can't hold an item behind your car. You need to drop your defenses on the ground at the right time. The sheer randomness and power from all these things can make for a relentlessly brutal time on the racetrack. It'll be blue shell after Yoshi egg after whatever the hell happens to you next. The looming threat of getting your ass beat feels inescapable here. And that's exactly what makes this game so fucking fun. Mario Kart Double Dash is nothing short of chaos. They made this big list of all these zany items with such varied behaviors, and they practically doubled the firing rate. For those who want a more consistent or professional racing game, this will not be your cup of tea. You are gonna hate it here. But me personally, I love it. This could have easily been a miserable experience of me getting bullied by things out of my control, but it's the type of chaos that just works so well. Yet it's also a functional system where nothing's really broken in a technical sense. I'm gonna cite myself from the past for how I would describe Double Dash. The best that I can describe Double Dash is hell but fun. Since the items are so extreme, it's a lot of fun fighting for your life. In hindsight, I think the use of hell is a bit of an exaggeration, but I still agree with the overall sentiment that it's an environment defined by pushing and shoving. The main thing that has it blend in so well is the specific way that your cart reacts to collision. Getting hit by an item in the past practically killed all momentum. A red shell causes a full-on crash with you spinning out and losing all speed, having you slowly build up your acceleration. And it's a fair punishment as long as it isn't too frequent. But in Double Dash, getting hit by a shell flips the cart around, but also pushes you before you regain control. So if there's a red shell coming from behind, you lose control for a second, but you still get pushed forward. The subtle change with the knockback allows you to get back in the game pretty quickly. If it was like the previous games where it entirely kills your momentum as you watch this whole animation play out, yeah, that would suck the soul out of me. But they gave the cart physics this more elastic, sort of bouncy behavior that keeps the ball rolling at all times. Getting hit by something feels more like a slap on the wrist. It is not too light, it causes enough of a setback. And just as a reminder, if you think all this chaos is too overwhelming, you also play a role in the chaos. You're just as capable of creating a shitstorm as anyone else on the track. And as you can imagine, it's a hell of a good time when the roles are reversed, and you're the one dropping all these crazy items onto people. Yes, you will get knocked around by everyone and everything in this game, but you possess just as much power, and it makes for such an exciting dynamic among the players, the computers, and the nature of the game. That's the important part about making a chaotic game like this, ensuring that the player's influence doesn't get drowned out by everything else, and that they always have a chance to get back up. Otherwise, they'll just feel hopeless and all the wacky shenanigans going on just aren't fun anymore. I never felt that way in Double Dash, so they're clearly doing something right. When I was recording the single player content and getting everything unlocked, I did not want to put it down. But I had to, because I had to go to school to learn about nuclear energy. It's kind of like a blue shell. And I think you'll also have a good time playing this on your own accord. But fuck, man. All of what I just said is a complete joke compared to multiplayer. That's the sound of GameCube controller.
Yeah.
This right here, the multiplayer features, is what makes our copy of Double Dash a family heirloom. This is what has me, my family members, and my friends coming back to this even after all these years. But isn't every Mario Kart game fun with other people, you might ask? That is true. It's a series of games that are designed to be fundamentally dynamic and spontaneous between different players. And if they're all fun at parties, isn't it as simple as choosing the most recent installment with the most modern sensibilities? But as I've shown you, Double Dash is no ordinary Mario Kart game, and that's not from just being a product of its time. I mean, compared to Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, not the most recent anymore, but I'd say it's still relevant given how more accessible it is in Mario Kart World. The laws of 8 Deluxe are the most balanced and refined that any Mario Kart has felt, making it the easiest for anyone to play decently at regardless of their gaming skills. It's why it remained as being seen as the most definitive for several years. The only thing is that when a system is this optimized, it decreases the fun you get from the absurdities. We still have a fun time when we play 8 Deluxe, but some of the excitement is lost on it being a bit too safe. Double Dash, on the other hand, if you thought it was fun being an agent of chaos toward computer players, imagine what it's like when that player is right next to you on the couch and you can visibly see their veins pulsating from their head. The customization and strategy with using two racers already provided such a fun and flexible gameplay on your own, but having multiple duos at odds with each other is a whole other level. And it's a small social thing, but I like how the customization allows the players to inject more of their personality into the game. You can now see what their two favorite characters are now, not to mention how fun it is to mix and match. For example, example, I get to deeply understand how much my sister loves to annoy the shit out of me, using Daisy with the hearts and Paratroopa with the triple shells. So if I'm behind her, I can go fuck myself, and if I'm ahead, I can also go fuck myself. Awesome, that's another layer of strategy with the character selection. Since there's a special item reserved for every pair of racers, they can decide if they want to grab one from multiple camps or claim an entire pair to themselves, so only they can use that special item. Now, having a full party free-for-all is a whole barrel of fun in its own right, but me personally, I prefer the co-op. Usually the single-player experience involves trying to get first place and unlock stuff in a sort of campaign mode, but now you can do all of that with a buddy, a special little someone, or Matthew. I fucking hope not. You now both share those higher stakes of doing well in the Grand Prix. One of you is in charge of steering and passing down the secondary item, and the other uses the primary item and helps with the drifting and pushing off at the start. I say the tasks are pretty evenly split. Both need to pull their own weight, and win or lose is entirely dependent on teamwork. If we're doing 2 players, I'm drawn more to playing co-op than one-on-one versus. For a series that's emphasized by its competitive edge, it's an oddly wholesome change of pace to work in tandem with people instead. And I'm always down to doing a little bit of both. 2-player teams against each other. The living room has now been split into 2 factions. But you know what mode has to be pure magic? It's not even something I've gotten to try yet, but I would take the first opportunity. It's LAN play, where you can have up to 16 people play at the same time. It's one hell of an investment and setup though. If you want the 16-player maximum, you need 8 GameCubes, a copy of Double Dash for each GameCube, and a shit ton of cables and accessories that don't get produced anymore. Meeting somewhere halfway and setting up like 8 players would be easier and still be an awesome party. I sure as hell know I won't be able to host it though. I can barely plug in one TV. I'd also need the friend group to get bigger. One might see this as a fire hazard, but I see it as the pearly gates of paradise. And I need to participate in something like this one day. Mario Kart Double Dash brings players together unlike any other Mario Kart. It provides such a variety of different rule sets between competitive, co-op, or team competition. But regardless of what mode you choose, the very nature of Double Dash will make it quite the memorable play session, which is why I think this is still one of the best Mario Kart games in multiplayer, and therefore a Mario Kart that easily stands the test of time. And I'm sure we're all in agreement with this. Oh shit, it's Evil Sam, my evil clone who has opinions that oppose mine and acts as a strawman of random internet comments I can just ignore. Oh, I already know what you're gonna say. Didn't you say that Mario Kart 64 was the worst game because it's not all about multiplayer? Well, guess what, liberal? That's because single player sucks in that game, and in Double Dash it's still fun, just not as much as multiplayer. But knowing you, Evil Sam, that's not gonna be enough. It's time for us to settle this in a big fight scene to see who has the correct opinion. I just came in to let you know that I ordered pizza and it'll be here in like 45 minutes. Oh, well, thank you. I appreciate it. You know what, Evil Sam, maybe you're alright. But I think there's just one last question to ask. If you're inviting the group over for some Double Dash, what are the essential go-to race courses to choose? And which choices are gonna have you end up as that one guy in the friend group? You know the one. That's where I'm here to help. As per tradition, we're going to rank every course in the game from worst to best. Although in this case, the quality here is so high, the lowest really isn't that bad, to the point where both F tier and D tier ended up being completely empty. So the bottom is going to start at C tier, but decently low C tier at that, sort of below average. This is going to be a more lightweight course ranking. The road to the top is going to be a short one, but I think they're all worth a critical look regardless. So let's get into the least good Double Dash course.
SpongeBob, I wanna go home.
If you're plugged into Double Dash discussions, you probably know that there are 2 courses that are pretty much unanimously agreed upon as the weakest links. You ask someone what their least favorite Double Dash track is, it'll likely be either Dry Desert or Sherbet Land, or Baby Park if they're a fucking loser. So I guess the only suspense here is, will I pick the desert or will I pick the ice rink? So, yeah, my least favorite is Wario Coliseum.
The comments are gonna be so mad at me at this
Exactly.
one.
I can already
Dude,
hear the
unless he's gonna
comments
look
right
in-
now. Oh, fuck! Now, this was actually a recent change of mind with this new playthrough. It used to still be near the bottom of my list, but more than ever, it's really setting in that, wow, I just feel nothing about this course. It's only known for 2 things. First off, it's one of the handful of Double Dash tracks that never got a remake, which doesn't actually say anything about its quality. If anything, this speaks against it. Maybe it's being ignored for good reason. And second, this Coliseum is so gosh darn big, you race 2 laps instead of 3. Okay. And then what? Oh, that's it. Okay. I never hear exactly how the fact that it's 2 laps are this big innovative shit, because I really don't think this earned its length. I will give it this. It's an appropriate difficulty to kick off the Special Cup. It's got curves of all sorts of angles. It's like the ultimate driving exam. The highlight for me is when you go off that big ramp, drop into the top of the cage, and work your way down through this long spiraling turn. I can really feel the tension of trying to maintain my drift the whole time, but all the tidbits I enjoy are few and far between. Maybe they would have been closer together if the track was more condensed with 3 laps. Crazy, right? What I meant by it doesn't earn its length is that I feel like there's a lot of padding here. Like getting an item through the fire hoop is pretty cool the first time, and then you do it again like right after. It thinks it's hot shit like it didn't copy Waluigi Stadium's homework and made it less fun. Oh, in the second half? Hey Wario, give me a long road of nothing. Like if you're gonna give up halfway through, why make it this long? I also think there's a few too many sections with guardrails. I wouldn't say it's boring because, like I said, it's a hard course. But that's the thing, all it really does is meet the Special Cup expectations in terms of difficulty and calls it a night. So I'll at least give it that it fulfills its purpose, but I feel very little enthusiasm for what it actually offers. Even if it's my least favorite Double Dash course, at the end of the day, I'd still give it the average C, because it isn't outright bad, it's just, you know, it's the Michigan of Mario Kart tracks.
SpongeBob, I wanna go home.
Anyways, on to the ones you probably expected to be down here. Number 15, Dry Desert. I think the trend with all these C-tier tracks is that none of them have any glaring issues. Their biggest crime is being milquetoast. And Dry Desert might as well be the milquetoast CEO. When you think Mario Desert, this is exactly what you picture. Yellow sand, ancient ruins, pokies, more sand. It feels even more like a sore spot when it's surrounded by courses beaming with vibrance and creativity. But with this, they chose the most boring idea both visually and conceptually, and like, added salt and pepper as the spices. Only reason why it's going above Wario Coliseum is that there's surprisingly a bit more interesting stuff going on here. The big sinkhole is pretty tense, as you need to drift along the circumference and ride that fine line between the sinking sand on the inside and the off-road on the outside. I also like the squiggly line near the beginning, and how you can launch yourself off the rocks using a mushroom boost. In general, the course has a good amount of shortcut opportunities due to the wide sprawl of the sand. The tornado that moves around the desert is pretty funny with how it can just pop in the middle of the race to fuck shit up. I honestly wished it would tread on the main road more often, as I feel like it's a bit underutilized. See, there's actual stuff going on here. Could have used more stuff for sure, but at least it's not long because it felt like it. Make no mistake, it's also home to who the hell cares moments. Whoa guys, look at these pokies. Oh geez, we're gonna go over the hill. Whee! I would argue that this might be kind of overhated. There's some parts that don't get enough credit, but in the grand scheme of things, I can't blame anyone if this is their least favorite. After all, it was mine for a long time. It's Dry Desert at the end of the day. And at number 14 is Sherbet Land. I used to not fuck with Sherbet Land at all. It was easily one of the most annoying courses to race on. Slippery ice physics when my kart already does a bunch of slip and sliding to begin with, but something strange happened on this new playthrough. I played perfectly fine. It is possible that I've become so cracked at the game that the difficulty spike got lost on me, but I felt that the ice surface really just made the controls a bit more difficult, but not so much that I felt like I lost that grip on the wheel. I honestly think it's fine. I can say the same thing about the freezies. Most of the reason why this track is so unpopular are these guys that can snowgrave your kart and have you lose all of your momentum. And I get that, but like, just don't hit them, I don't know. And with things feeling less like a nuisance, I can finally appreciate the environment more. The Christmas spirit is off the charts here.
Excuse me, what the actual fuck are you doing on my head?
That skybox is gorgeous, the place is decorated with ice sculptures, oh and the lights too. It's hard to stay mad at Sherbet Land, it's downright beautiful. With that said, the actual racetrack still isn't doing much for me. I only grew to tolerate, not appreciate, the parts that originally annoyed me. I think the atmosphere alone brings it up from the 2 below this. But maybe next time come up with an original name. Like, I know some courses of certain archetypes share the same title, but like, your ice level doesn't need to be called Sherbet Land. You could get kicked out of school for that, man, come on. The list of B tiers in this game are kinda hard to pinpoint because I just give them the thumbs up with hardly anything negative to say about them. But I think I'm confident in saying that Mario Circuit is the least good of this bunch. Like I said, nothing here is gonna blow you away, it's just a nice loop around a very Mario themed track. One thing I love is, once again, the decorations of it all. I love that Hollywood type Mario sign on the hill. You got bouncing trees, blue shell lampposts, this bridge of a cool Power Star design. Just a lot of harmony going on, and it's very pleasant to be here. It's double Double Dash personified. I really like how the piranha plants are designed here, where you gotta make sure you're lined up in the middle of the road. Those two right before the finish line can really fuck you up if you go off that bump at a bad angle. I also like these innocent bystander Goombas, where if you attack the innocent bystander Goomba, you can get a mushroom. These are the subtle ethical themes of Mario Kart Double Dash. 30-minute video essay with automatic mid-roll placements. You will watch 2 ads every 5 minutes. Mario Circuit's worst crime is being kind of basic, but that's about what you sign up for with Mario Circuits. And like Sherbet Land, it's getting carried by its super whimsical atmosphere. In 12th place is good old Peach Beach.
More like Peach's Fantasy Dickland.
With Super Mario Sunshine being the latest hit title, it's nice to see a course that takes a lot of influence from it. There's Piantas and Nokis cheering you on from the sidelines. But above all, we got the beloved Cataquacks on the beach. The way that fear for your life kicks in seeing these guys waddle on over to you is really funny to me. It can be super devastating when they fling you into the air and have you drop everything, but they're pretty easy to avoid at the same time, so really it's on you if you get caught. Maybe the course is so wide to a fault, but I won't be too harsh because not only is it the second track in the game, it's also a beach, and beaches tend to be wide with sand. I like how the tide changing will periodically restrict your movement on the beach. You also have this path on the left side that I think is great with its risk and reward. If the path is flooded by the ocean, you almost have to gamble that the item box right before will give you a mushroom that'll let you cut through. The beach part of Peach Beach is really good, but it's the upper section by the resort where it loses steam. I don't know, you just kinda drive straight the whole time you're up there. You can go around a statue for an item set, but I don't think that's worth it at all. And neither is that fuck-ass pipe where you just go out the same place you went in. Wow, so quirky, love her. It's a good course, but it could do with a more interesting other half. Number 11, Mushroom Bridge. Mushroom Bridge is a track that's simple to great effect. A pretty straightforward highway road to ease the player into the traffic gimmick, so that they can get more crazy with it in Mushroom City. And that's not to say that this is nothing more than just a lesser Mushroom City. I think it offers enough of its own. It's a good, simple environment to get accustomed to all the weird new cars that Double Dash added, like the silent but deadly bomb on wheels, the Mushroom Mobile where you can knock some of its supplies on the road, maybe even time it well so you can boost up that one hill, and that fucking Wiggler bus that I hate. I also like how there's a bike lane for cowards. You'll feel like the scum of the earth, which is no different from actual bike riders. Mushroom Bridge also has a weird pipe war, but you barely lose any time using it, so I'd say the item box is worth grabbing if you really need it. One thing I find very disappointing though is that shortcut with riding along the high rails of the titular Mushroom Bridge. The balancing act is real heart-pounding until you realize it's barely faster to use the bridge normally. That kinda sucks, but at least the bridge itself looks pretty nice. They should do something about those whirlpools though. That shit's not natural. Like I said in the beginning, it's a simple course, but a necessary one at that. Number 10 is this game's Rainbow Road. Every version of Rainbow Road has me feeling some strong emotions, whether that be pure bliss and magic with the likes of Wii or 3DS, agonizing limbo with 64, or super tense and having me pop off like with SNES or GBA. Double Dash's Rainbow Road, however, I think it's good. And that's it. It checks all the boxes. High difficulty, majestic look, iconic music, but that's really it. I think the rainbow gradient for the road itself looks pretty nice. Bonus points for the decoration as per usual. And it further connects this world with the lights of Mushroom City down below. Aesthetics are off the charts as per usual, but the course design doesn't intrigue me as much. I mean, I think it's cool how a shooting star can land on the course and you can use them as actual star items, but I never really found a particularly useful case for them. I ended up getting the same sort of conclusion as Wario Coliseum. The spiraling part is the best part once again, but sort of loses steam near the end, with nothing beyond the rainbow tunnel being of note, and I feel like it's just a bit too long. Of course, it's not nearly as bad as the Coliseum, because that's not the road where you go when you die. Even if it doesn't reach the same height that Rainbow Roads normally reach, at the end of the day, a by-the-numbers Rainbow Road is still using the equation for an exciting track. The stakes are at an all-time high, especially if it's during the All-Cup tour. One choke on those curvy parts, and that city down below will have a day to remember. So comparing it to the other Rainbow Roads that reach higher highs doesn't do it justice, especially when it's very comparable to the DS version where it does about the same thing but IMO better. It's a great finale to the game on its own. And number 9 is Dino Dino Jungle. I did not care for this one in the past, but it's really starting to grow on me. I won't deny that the dinosaur level could use some more dinosaurs, but hey, at least the one dinosaur is utilized pretty well. Apparently their name is Noshi. I like Noshi. They're sort of like a two-parter where one section you can maneuver between their stomping feet for item boxes, and they come back near the end where their head is in the way of the bridge. This part with all the narrow paths over the lake has me sweating up a storm. I still struggle with this part to this day. And the cave section is both narrow and has you weave around geysers that hit as hard as the Cataquacks. There's all sorts of bumpy terrain that makes it tricky for you to maintain your balance. This is an example of a Special Cup course that fits the bill for the Special Cup, while also having more intricate level elements that go in tandem with the theme, something that Wario Coliseum failed to deliver. ever. Man, I've been slandering Coliseum a lot in this ranking. That's not me apologizing, I'm just pointing it out. I can't think of any negatives about this course, aside from it definitely needing more dinosaurs. Thankfully, they got around to doing that with the remake in Mario Kart World, and holy shit, I think it's my favorite course in that game. It's fucking peak. I wasn't even a dinosaur kid either, I think I was more into cowboy stuff, and this is what they did for young Sam. But anyways, we've reached the halfway point, and it's already time for the A tiers. Man, let that sink in.
No one likes what you say.
Shrimp Alfredo?
First up is Luigi Circuit. What an amazing introductory course, and it's built just right for the antics that you can only get from Double Dash. It seems very simple at a first glance. You go to the other side of the map, then you do a roundabout and drive back to the start. The kicker here is that everyone uses the same road to get to both ends of the circuit, meaning that you'll share the same road with someone who's half a lap behind or ahead of you. So you gotta watch out for everyone. It doesn't matter if they're in second or in eighth. You can be within anyone's line of fire. At the same time though, you can bully racers that are far behind you for no other reasons than being a dick. It doesn't get too crazy where it becomes this all-out war, but it's just enough to get you familiar with Double Dash's spicy flavor. One of the more obscure parts that I just discovered recently is that in 50cc, they add this big divider in the middle of the road. I guess they didn't want to throw beginner players into the deep end. It's like when you're bowling with the family and you need to add bumpers for your nephew Ethan. I think the Chain Chomp is a good fit as the only natural hazard of his course, as it might be imposing but also has a lot of restraint. It's good at being Luigi themed too. It's dominantly green, he's got his beautiful face on display, and this is built right in front of his giant mansion. What a fucking narcissist. You know what, maybe it's a well-earned ego, because this might be the best first track in any Mario Kart game. Not a high bar, sure, but it deserves its flowers nonetheless. And at number 7 is Yoshi Circuit, another track I believe to be simple to great effect. It might look like you'll just be racing on an asphalt road around an island, but the hands-on experience is a lot more fun than it looks. It has all sorts of turns one after another, and chaining your mini-turbos in rapid succession is really satisfying. It's not without the occasional shortcuts either, like making the jump over that first gap, and a secret tunnel that I never really use, but I still think it's cool. It uses more of those piranha plants from Mario Circuit, and they're just as effective as they were back there. The icing on the cake though is all the little Yoshi-themed details. I adore the Yoshi copter to no end. You have Yoshi himself reminding me to turn left, how kind of him. Although he's displaying his goon poster like in public for whatever reason. Oh, and I can't forget to mention that the track outline is in the shape of Mario. You can never go wrong with a race on Yoshi Circuit. Now that I think about it, this might be Yoshi's best course, and one of the only good ones. That's a bit sad. At number 6 is Bowser's Castle. I found a running theme with all the iterations of the traditional courses in Double Dash, being Mario Circuit, Rainbow Road, and Bowser's Castle, which is that they mostly just kinda meet the quota of that archetype without standing out all that much. But with Bowser's Castle, it only feels that way because it actually kickstarted a lot of tropes you see in future iterations, and it only doesn't stick out in retrospect. And with that in mind, this deserves a lot of credit, not to mention that it's a lot of fun. In the first room, they don't fuck around. You have these narrow hallways with thwomps in the middle, and seizing the gap can be really tight. There's plenty of opportunities to fall into lava. Well, either lava or grape juice.
The water has become Ribena.
There's rotating fire bars that also have a small gap to sneak through. The signs are angry. What did I do to them? And this was the castle that started the trend of using big animatronic Bowser statues. And I like how the dynamic with his fireballs changed from when you enter the room and they're coming toward you, and when you're leaving and the fire is coming from behind. One small detail I love is that whenever you get hit, you can hear Bowser's laugh echoing. This is literally just him reacting to epic fail compilations. Overall, a very strong iteration of Bowser's Castle, and is well deserving of being the framework of its successors. Number 5 is Waluigi Stadium. From my understanding, I think the consensus for Waluigi Stadium is that the original is kinda rough to play on in hindsight, and it would meet its full potential in future games. Since this track has a lot of aerodynamics going on, it's a lot more comfortable after they gave the player more agency with the air trick mechanic. And while I can see where this is coming from, I've oddly grown to like the restrictions of the original. I feel that with the lack of agency while airborne and double dash, there's a whole new level of precision you need to aim for, and I think this shines the brightest with the fire hoops. It's more difficult in this version to line yourself up through the hoop, and it makes grabbing that item box all the more rewarding. Of course, it's not without that unsatisfying feeling of getting hoisted off ramps, but I found that they're more often a good challenge than they are a nuisance. Just about everything else, Waluigi Stadium hits out of the park. I like the sass emitting from those dancing arrow signs. That sunset is a perfect pairing with this grungy, muddy stadium. I like how they couldn't afford using real piranha plants, levels, so instead they have these tacky animatronics. I just love how low budget this place feels. It fits Waluigi's cheapskate personality to a T, and that bouncy energy you get from Double Dash once again elevates the environment so much. Even though I agree that this only gets better in later versions, I mean, not to spoil too much, but I think they'll probably also rank very highly when I eventually get to Wii and 8 Deluxe. But I think the original has a unique feeling to it from the simplicity. And at number 4, we have Mushroom City. Man, they still haven't brought this back, and I'm starting to lose hope this will get new shit. Man, I only lament because Mushroom City is so good. It's the perfect evolution of Mushroom Bridge. We've moved from the lone highway to the bustling city streets, and that comes with a whole new layer of complexity. It's sort of a second attempt at what Yoshi Valley from Mario Kart 64 was doing, with having multiple branching paths, but this time it's way more polished. Yoshi Valley is at first confusing when you're a beginner, and then gets solved fairly quickly once you find the best path. With Mushroom City, however, no street feels obviously faster than the rest, so it encourages you to improvise on each lap instead of fixating on the same route every time, and it ensures you don't get lost with the abundant arrow signs, so it's good that this course is DSP friendly.
What? What's going on? What? What the fuck?
It also adds to the feeling of depth that large cities have with all these different avenues and intersections, and the traffic being heavier than ever really adds to that feeling of a loud central city. There's just something really funny about a Wiggler bus jump scaring you from the corner and wrecking your shit. There's constant stakes with cars all over the road to maneuver around. The city lights really bring this place to life, and that music is such a bop, one of my personal favorites in Mario Kart. It's hard to say why this didn't make S tier for me. Maybe I just don't feel as strongly about this as I do with the remaining 3, which are the peakest of the peak. So yeah, let's talk about those right now. Honestly, the top 3 could be in any order. They all excel in different things, but I think I'm pretty confident with this order, and I've decided 3rd place will go to DK Mountain. What sells DK Mountain as an absolute classic in my eyes is just the scope of it all. It's a very big map, yet most of it is in your view for most of the time. They get right into the action almost immediately. Going up and around this small hill has a barrel cannon waiting for you. It sends you flying into the air with such force, the guy in the back is hanging on with their pinky finger as it launches you on top of this rather steaming volcano. He thought school was for one day only, and once you turn around, you can see that cannon way off in the distance. And it's wild to think you were there just a moment ago, and now you're gonna work your way back down this mountain. And it's far from a smooth path, let me tell you. The terrain is bumpy, there are falling rocks to look out for, and that middle part with all those U-turns. This is when the game stops fucking around. You better have gone the drifting down, or this part is going to be a train wreck.
Oh, shit. It's done. It's over.
Bitch, slap them. We just gotta slap the fuck out of them. Damn it.
Oh, no. Oh, no.
The track has a constant presence of danger to it, where any slip-up feels so detrimental, and nothing speaks with more volume on this than the bridge. That goddamn bridge. Once you reach the mountain's base, the only thing between you and the finish line is this long, thin, rickety wooden bridge. If this doesn't give one fart and I'm dead, I don't know what does. Your lead can easily get destroyed here, from nearly unavoidable item placements or just driving over it at the wrong angle. So yeah, I just really love the constant tension of DK Mountain, as well as the sense of scope that I was talking about earlier. The whole track truly feels like a Super Mario journey. It's awesome, but the only reason why it's in 3rd place is that sometimes maybe the U-turns don't feel the best to me, but that's about it. And to think that there are still 2 more courses higher than what I pretty much believe to be perfect. But funnily enough, I'd say this next one is perfect from how batshit off the walls it truly is. Good lord, where do I begin with Baby Park? Seriously, this part of the script has been blank for like half an hour. It's just hard for me to express how it's simultaneously junk food yet secretly genius design. It's the junk food part that makes this one a bit divisive. Some people aren't a fan of Baby Park from the fact that it's just 7 laps around an oval, or that such a contained environment creates a cesspool of items flying everywhere, making your actual driving skills play a minimal role. And to that I say, these people are lame. This is Double Dash, bitch. We clown in this motherfucker. Better take your sensitive ass back to Mario Kart 7. This is like one of the funniest levels in all of gaming, and I won't remotely sell it short. Luigi Circuit sort of teased with what happens when you create a field where the game's very nature is at full force, but that is Baby Park in its entirety. Stuff like the Bowser shells and giant bananas don't just come and go, they're a lot more present. And the likes of blue shells or bob-ombs create a larger impact than ever. This enclosed mosh pit where no matter how ahead or behind you are in the race, you can cause ripple effects with your items. Driving does play some role in success, with cutting those U-turns as tight as you can, but for the most part, you're fully at the mercy of the items. It makes the results in this race consistently unpredictable, chaotic, and above all exciting. And the theming is perfect, so over-the-top goofy to the point where it's maddening. Part of me does hesitate putting a course built like this so highly, let alone second place, but when I think about it more, Baby Park is just the epitome of Mario Kart Double Dash. It's a showcase of all of its quirks cranked up to 11, and I think the best race courses in a Mario Kart game are the ones that lean into that game's particular strengths. I've gone on about how special Double Dash is, but a play session cannot be complete without at least a few rounds on Baby Park. However, I think I should save the very top spot for another course I think represents this game perfectly as well, but in a more compelling way for me personally. And that track would be Daisy Cruiser has always been an all-time favorite of mine, and that hasn't aged a day. I still have so much fun here. Making a racetrack out of a luxury cruise ship is already creative to begin with, but in execution, any and all assets of a cruise ship that you could use in the race gets fulfilled here as such creative set pieces. They have the swimming pool on the deck be this whole thing you gotta move around, stuff like the item boxes and the dining hall tables sway from one side to the other. The player can fall into this maintenance room as an alternate path where you shoot out of the pipe. One of my personal favorite bits is pushing these hanging life preservers that will swing back and possibly hit the guy behind you. It's especially insulting considering how the finish line is just ahead. But best of all, I just think the general compact space of these walkways fits the game's physics really well. When I said this course also leans a lot into Double Dash's design, I was specifically referring to how all these tight and angular hallways lend themselves to your kart's controls, with the drifting having that sort of swerving nature to it. In addition to the controls allowing you to snap left and right pretty quickly, you can also put the co-op mode swiping maneuver to good use to make last-minute course corrections. This is showcased at its fullest with the dining hall section, with all these pillars and moving tables scattered everywhere, and the hallway that follows with a lot of hard lefts and rights after another. It's perfect as the intermediate level course of the game. It sort of fits as a way to practice not bunking into things, because if you haven't gotten a grip yet, boy you'll be doing that a lot here. Such a creative theme with such intuitive design revolving around said theme is really the best Mario Kart track you could ever ask for. Baby Park and Daisy Cruiser are almost equal in my head from how both show Double Dash's mechanics at its best, Baby Park with the item chaos, and Daisy Cruiser with their controls and out there theming, but I find the latter more compelling as a genuine racetrack, while Baby Park is just simple fun at the end of the day. But really, the top three could be in any order, they all have legendary status, but this order feels the most concrete to me. So when you have the gang together for some Double Dash, these are the courses you have to race on immediately or at least once in that session. And hey, even if one of your friends choose mid, I mean, they're definitely getting got at the sleepover. I think that hardly gets in the way of the heart and soul of this game. It is a cornerstone party game in the end. Maybe not as much nowadays. The game's over 20 years old and isn't on modern hardware, but if the function still got a GameCube, you know what's up. But putting the multiplayer potential aside, Double Dash is just an incredible racing game, and it wasn't done by playing by the rules or making things fair. It's because it's slippery, sporadic, and sometimes outright cruel. And while that makes for funny multiplayer sessions, that sounds like it should be miserable in single player when you have an objective in mind. But that's the brilliant part. It's not miserable. It's fun as hell even in single player. And it's because the player is given an arsenal of chaos just as powerful as their opponents, with access to all the special items and using the power of 2. You can get knocked around a lot here for sure, but you can clap back just as hard and maintain your victory if you play your cards right, or if luck is on your side. And as I said before, the physics and nature of the game is designed in this elastic sort of way. There's just as much potential of getting screwed as there is to recover from getting screwed. I think having some bullshit in a game is actually a healthy thing. There's a lot of excitement to be had from chance-based events that you can't get when everything is pre-calculated. It's why a lot of party games or card games are based on chance. Mario Party is notorious for, quote, ruining friendships, yet no one can get enough of it. And Double Dash without a doubt feels that way. Well, mostly. There's still some things that are actually frustrating and I can't smile through the pain. Like some balancing issues not taken into account, and some of the items got a little quirky and not the best ways. And again, it could have used a few more courses to improve its replayability. But when I say that Double Dash is a delightfully unhinged game, I also mean conceptually it's really creative. It innovates in so many ways from the character and kart dynamics, and adding all different kinds of ways to play, not to mention that such a cheerful tone is carried throughout and it's really contagious. Even if a few ideas didn't quite stick the landing, leading to a slightly messy product, this is Nintendo's creativity and charm at its finest. One of the best Mario Karts, and truly one of a kind, which is what makes the future pretty interesting. The next in the series would stay more traditional and build more off of Super Circuit. They would still be inventive, but more grounded than Double Dash. And while I obviously had my fun revisiting Double Dash, I'm also pretty intrigued about my next stop, Mario Kart DS. It was one of my favorites in the series, but a lot of that is admittedly nostalgia, so I'm afraid I'm gonna have to give it my honest review, as opposed to this review where I was lying the whole time. Oh shit, wait, I completely forgot about the mangoes. I'm sorry. It's not too late though. We have a few seconds left. So, okay, I got it. I think a little known fact about mangoes is that they